You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Republicans blame everyone but themselves for primary losses, based on an article by Sarah K. Burris. The party of anti-establishment built this trap for itself. A brief facts pattern. A cluster of Republican House members who left safe seats to run statewide just got rejected by their own primary voters. Dusty Johnson, Randy Feenstra, Ralph Norman, Nancy Mace, Chip Roy, Wesley Hunt, and Buddy Carter all ran into the same wall. Their explanation, reported by NOTUS, is a familiar one. Blame service, blame leadership, blame messaging, blame the base's mood, blame the people who supposedly failed to appreciate their nuance. The power was never missing.
The people with actual power in this story were not the candidates pretending to be victims.
They were the incumbents who had spent years inside the House, voting with GOP leadership, benefiting from the machine, and then trying to convert that institutional status into higher office. They were not outsiders battered by the system. They were the system. They had the platform, the record, the name recognition, and in several cases safe seats they voluntarily abandoned. That matters because these losses were not random humiliations. They were self-inflicted political choices made by people who mistook access for legitimacy. The blame shift is the point. Johnson's complaint that the House is not a particularly big asset right now is a remarkable admission dressed up as analysis. It is also a dodge. If being in Congress has become a liability, that is not an accident of communication. It is the consequence of what Congress has become under Republican rule, a factory for performative grievance, high-friction loyalty tests, and votes easy to weaponize in primary attacks. When Johnson says GOP leadership forced tough votes onto members, he is not describing abuse from above so much as the predictable cost of serving a party that rewards obedience and then punishes the people who obeyed when the base turns on them. The machine manufactures attack material and then acts surprised when the material works. New blood is just a cleaner word for anti-incumbency. The strategist quoted in the piece gets closer to the truth than the candidates do. Republican primary voters are often primed to treat TC swamp as a universal explanation, and these lawmakers handed them an easy target. Years in Congress did not read as experience. It read as contamination. That is not a misunderstanding of politics. It is a political culture the GOP helped build, then lost control of. It tells voters to distrust government, celebrate disruption, and suspect every institutional skill as corruption. Then it sends office holders into primaries and acts shocked when voters apply that script to them first. The cowardice is bipartisan in shape, Republican in form. Mace's attempt to rewrite her exit as a founder-style private sector return is the most polished version of the same evasion. She did not just lose, she tried to narrate the loss in advance as a noble plan. That is not confidence. It is reputational cleanup in real time. The broader pattern is institutional cowardice dressed as principle. These candidates skipped votes, chased higher office, and then blamed extremist influencers and vague messaging problems when the base did exactly what the base was trained to do. They wanted the prestige of office, without the costs of accountability. Primary voters refused the bargain. The system eats its own. This story is not about a few unlucky Republicans. It is about a party that has spent years laundering resentment into political identity and then discovered that resentment does not respect hierarchy. Once a movement trains its voters to hate career politicians, it cannot reliably protect career politicians when they ask for promotion. That is the larger lesson here. Anti-establishment politics inside an establishment party does not remove power, it redelegates blame. The candidates keep the institutional advantages, while the public is told to treat the wreckage as a message problem. It is not a message problem. It is the predictable result of a political culture that rewards opportunism, excuses self-sabotage, and calls the aftermath a misunderstanding. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Alternet for today's article. With the automated voice of Lesak, thanks for listening.